I want to thank the NRM Electoral Commission for nominating me. And I also want to thank the nominators, the seconders, the nominators, the seconders, and my lawyers and the secretariat who organized all these documents, because they are not easy. You have heard that they got signatures from 151 districts in such a short time. I thank everybody who was involved. I hope the whole membership of the NRM and its structures will support my candidature as the chairman of the NRM for the 2025-2031 period, and also as flag bearer for the NRM in the presidential contest for the 2026-2031 period. Why do I say you should support me now that I'm your flag bearer and your chairman? Why? There must be reasons. It's not just emotional. There must be reasons. It is because I stand here on behalf of the very NRM that started as a student movement in 1965. This is 60 years ago. That nascent student movement emerged in a very fragmented landscape where polarization was following tribes and religious denominations. Twatandikira ekibiina ky'abavubuka ensi yammwe yonna mu byobufuzi baali bamaze okugiyuzaayuza. Yali mu, what do you call fragments in Uganda? In Uganda fragments bazisa batya?
Your Excellency, bubajjo bajjo.
Bubajjo bajjo. Ebyobufuzi byali kati birimu obubajjo bajjo. Engusyo, Nyankole. Fragments. That's how Uganda was, politically. That political fragmentation made governance impossible because no fragment could master a majority in an election. In 1962, no party could get more than even 40%, because they had fragmented the people in Engusyo, Obsorogoto, fragments of a calabash or a pot. The fragmentation also could not allow institutions to be built up. So the fragmentation made governance impossible because you couldn't get a majority. If you say Baganda are not even 17% of the population of Uganda. So how will you get a majority? If you say Abanyankole, if you say you will not get far. If you say religion, Catholics, Protestants, none of them can even be 40%. So that's what happened. Fragmentation meant impossibility for governance. This is the point I'm raising here. But that fragmentation also could not allow institutions to be built up. The victim institutions included the army, the judiciary, the civil service, etc. Kubanga bw'oyambala gaalibindi z'okusosola n'otalaba omuserikale ng'omuserikale naye n'omulaba ng'ow'eddiini gundi oba ow'eggwanga gundi oluzimba otya amagye. How will you have a national army? Indeed, this is what happened. Our first graduate from Sandhurst, Kargava, was removed from the army in the year 1 of independence. So, the fragmentation of the politics could not allow the country to build an army, to build a judiciary. Chief Justice was murdered here, Kiwanuka. And the other judges had to run away. When some Europeans were killed under Idi Amin, they appointed a commission of inquiry led by Justice Jeffrey Jones, a white man. He investigated the case, but in order to report, he ran to Nairobi and issued the report when he was in Nairobi. That was the judiciary. That was after the killing of Kiwanuka. With the two fragmentations, uliriza okuyuza okwebika bibiri. With the two fragmentations, the political fragmentation and the institutional fragmentation, ebyobufuzi biyuziza ebitongole bya gavumenti, they are fragmented. What came now? Came the constitutional collapse in the form of the conflict between Mutesa and Obote, 1966, and the Idi Amin coup of 1971. The constitutional order was destroyed within the first 10 years of independence. The next casualty was the small enclave economy, the island economy of the 3 Cs and the 3 Ts. The 3 Cs and the 3 Ts, I have told you repeatedly, were coffee, cotton, and copper, and the 3 Ts were tobacco, tea, and tourism. By the 1986, cotton had disappeared, copper had disappeared, tea had disappeared, and so had tourism. It is only coffee and tobacco that were still limping on. There was acute shortages, Ebola, of all essential items, as they were being called, meaning soap, salt, paraffin, textiles, sodas, beers, etc. Our alcohol drinkers were being rescued by Primus beer from Burundi and a beer called Muniki from Congo. We even had a minister of shortages. There was a minister of shortages called Dr. Moses Apiriga. He was called the Minister of Supplies to deal with shortages. Apiriga, is he still alive or what? He died. He's alive. Yeah. One day you should bring Apiriga as a guest of honor to tell you about shortages. Therefore, by 1986, the great country of Uganda had 3 mega traumas. Political fragmentation caused by the sectarianism leading to the collapse of the democratic constitutional order, the collapse of the institutions of state such as the army, and the collapse of the economy. This is what we had to deal with in 1986. The political fragmentation causing the collapse of democracy, the collapse of the institutions of state, like the army, no army. You can imagine we had army, UA was destroyed completely. 1979. Ejiri na lyasangidwawo. Then UNLA. No, but even before UA was destroyed, it had destroyed itself. Because they had killed so many killings among themselves. The soldiers from one part of the country killing soldiers from another part of the country. So the soldiers were seasonal. You are seasonal. You are a soldier today, tomorrow you are a refugee. And the collapse of the economy. Given all this, understanding where we are today in the year of our Lord 2025, we can see that in the last 60 years, the NRM has been a participant and for most of the time a leader of the efforts to do the following in the interest of Uganda. You remember I asked the question, why do I agree to be a candidate and why do you nominate me and what do we tell the country? So the answer is that in the last 60 years now, the NRM have been involved in the following. Number one, liberation between 1965 and 1986. So you had to liberate. Walina okujjawo enkola eno ey'okuyuzaayuza n'okumenyamenya n'okutema mu bantu. Number two, stabilization between 1986 and today. That's what people are talking about, stability. Number three, minimum economic recovery by restoring the 3 C's and the 3 T's, as well as eliminating Ebola shortages. Instead of shortages today, you have got a chengera, too much, too many products in the shops. N'okudiba n'ebidiba mu maduuka ebintu bijjudde n'okudiba n'ebidiba. Number four, expanding the narrow enclave economy. Because the coffee now is much more than the coffee we had in 1970. And so is the tea and all the other products.